Can the Denver Broncos advance to the Super Bowl over the New England Patriots without Bo Nix? Also, can Sam Darnold get the job done against Matthew Stafford and Rams Seahawks Part 3? The Ultimate NFL Pregame Show starts right now.
It's the Ultimate NFL Pregame Show. Every team, every game, every angle. The local experts of the Locked On Podcast Network going head-to-head on every matchup. It's the Ultimate NFL Pregame Show. Unprecedented insight, unrivaled passion, and unsurpassed knowledge. It's the Ultimate NFL Pregame Show. The Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Championship weekend is officially here, and we've got everything you need to know heading into the weekend from the local experts across the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Kevin Ostreicher of Locked On Ravens, and one of the many NFL experts here on our network, the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Now the number one sports podcast network. Just 2 games this weekend, but there for a shot to go to the Super Bowl. So from Rams Seahawks Part 3 and who will come out on top there between Sam Darnold and Matthew Stafford, to the big AFC Championship matchup for the Broncos, that Bo Nix, and the Patriots with Drake May. We're going to go game by game to make you the most informed fan for game day. Want to tell everyone and remind everyone today's episode of the Ultimate NFL Pregame Show is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. Every game day during the NFL playoffs, FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. We're starting off with the first game of the weekend, and that is Patriots-Broncos. They're going to be kicking off championship weekend. Broncos coming off a huge divisional win over the Bills, but they lose Bo Nix in that game. Meanwhile, the Patriots are able to get the best of the Texans. So Denver and New England mashing up for a chance to go to the Super Bowl. Sarah Benninger of Locked On Broncos and Nick Cattles of Locked On Patriots. Get you ready for game time.
What has to happen for the Broncos and the Patriots to punch their ticket to Santa Clara for Super Bowl 60? We're going to tell you on today's crossover Thursday edition. Locked On Broncos and Locked On Patriots. Once again, thank you so much to all you everydayers out there. We appreciate you so much. Nick, I want to defer to you. I want to know, what does it got to take for the Patriots to get there? Because obviously the big narrative is, right, I mean, I guess you can say never. I think they've only played 2 AFC championships in Denver, right? But Patriots are looking to get off the old schneid when it comes to winning the AFC title in Denver. So what do they got to do to make it happen?
First, they got to win a couple of rounds against Denver's offensive line. I obviously would not expect them to dominate that matchup. I would not expect them to get home as much as they got home against the Chargers and the Texans. Realistically looking at it, the Chargers offensive line was a banged up mess. The Houston offensive line was below average and did not have their starting right tackle in Trent Brown. This is a whole different ball game against the Broncos offensive line. So can you win a couple of rounds? Can Caleb Chason make a play or two? Can Milton Williams or Christian Barmore make a play or two against the interior offensive line? You know, if you get Jarrett Stidham in 2nd and long, 3rd and long, that should change the game pretty quickly. So can you win a couple of those rounds? That's one key. Second key, I would say, is take advantage of Vance Joseph's aggressiveness and heavy blitzing. The Denver blitzes a lot. Denver blitzed Josh Allen a ton last weekend. And, you know, Drake May, for the most part, I know Pro Football Focus would disagree with this, but Drake May has been pretty good against the blitz this year. So, you know, if Vance Joseph is blitzing as much as he usually does, can Drake May take advantage of that? And what will Josh McDaniels have drawn up, you know, to try to beat some of those blitzes from Vance Joseph as he tries to change the picture on Drake May? And thirdly, I would say throw the kitchen sink at Jarrett Stidham. And this is what the Patriots have done the first couple of playoff games. They threw a lot at Justin Herbert. They threw even more at C.J. Stroud. You know, disguising coverages, all sorts of different pass rushes and in different ways, blitzes, you know, blitzing 5, 6, 7 guys at times, cover 0 at times, running a ton of stunts last week against Houston's offensive line. And I think you'll see more of that. Just throw the kitchen sink at Jarrett Stidham. He hasn't played an NFL game that counts in more than 2 years. Try to put him in a blender, as Mike Vrabel says. And, you know, Carlton Davis, by the way, he was at Wednesday's practice with a non-contact jersey, which means he's already in phase 4 out of the 5 phases in concussion protocol. So right now it looks somewhat promising that Carlton Davis will play on Sunday, which would be a big deal because if you have Christian Gonzalez and Carlton Davis, you can play more man coverage and be confident in that, which allows you to really throw a different variety of things at Jarrett Stidham.
100%. And speaking of injury updates and things like that, the Broncos had a number of reinforcements as well at their Wednesday practice. Starting center Luke Wattenberg, who's been out since around Christmas time, he was activated off injured reserve, and his backup Alex Forsyth was back at practice as well. We also heard Troy Franklin was out on the practice field. Pat Bryant, the rookie wide receiver who was kind of featured early in the divisional round, he was back on the practice field. J.K. Dobbins, the starting running back, was back out on the practice field, although Sean Payton would not commit to whether or not he was going to play this weekend. So we'll find out what happens there. But I think those are great keys. Honestly, I think that's exactly what has to happen. You're playing against a quarterback who hasn't thrown a regular season pass since the end of the 2023 season. Throw everything at him. Make him make split-second decisions with the football. I think that's absolutely key. For the Denver Broncos, I feel like I mentioned the same keys all season, Nick. I really do. And I pretty much say this every crossover Thursday episode, but it's make the opposing quarterback's life miserable. You talked about that for Jarrett Stidham. I think the Broncos got to do the same thing for Drake May, whether it's disguising coverage, whether it's sending blitzes, whether it's disguising blitzes, getting, your guys to win at the front, which they have all season long. Zach Allen, number one in quarterback hits, Nick Bonito, Jonathan Cooper, a dynamic duo. Even your backups come in Jonah Ellis and Dondre Tillman, and they can make an impact. So make his life miserable, number one. Number two, and this has been a huge problem over the second half of the season for the Broncos, but it's converting in the red zone. Don't settle for field goals. Maybe in a game like this where you expect, okay, the defenses are going to kind of tighten up a little bit. Maybe you do not necessarily want to be overly aggressive if you get like a 4th and goal situation and you have an opportunity to take points or go for it. Maybe you take the points, but at the same time, just convert your red zone opportunities. The Denver Broncos have been one of the best teams in the NFL for the majority of the year, converting in the red zone. It's tapered off here a little bit since the bye week. And then the third key to victory is rally around the backup QB. Everybody else has to have, it's sort of like, if you ever, have a issue with your eye, right? You got something in your eye and you got to, adjust, or, your hearing is damaged for a season, or, you have a cold and you can't smell, your other senses get heightened is what I'm getting at here, right?
Yeah.
That's what the rest of the Broncos roster has to do with Bo Nix out. Like, for so much of the season, the formula has been the same. Stay in games as long as we can, and then Bo is going to put on the Superman cape when he needs to. And that's just not going to necessarily be the case here in this game. At least you can't expect it to be, right?
Right.
This defense needs to come out and do what they do. I mean, they've had games this year where the 50 is the end zone, and offenses are lucky to cross the 50. I'm not saying that's going to happen against the Patriots, but I've been saying all week long, I think that has to be Denver's defensive mentality, is like, remember the Titans saying, like, don't let them get another yard, right? That's what you need to happen in this game. So it's got to be all the other senses being heightened, right? With your quarterback is out. Everybody else has to be like, all right, I got to really step up in this game. Not that they were taking anything lightly before, but I think that's going to be crucial for them getting this win.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think all of it makes sense. I do think Denver's defense is going to have to be really, really good on Sunday to give them the best chance. Again, it's kind of like a Captain Obvious statement, but it's true. And, it's the reality of the situation. I don't know if you go into Sunday feeling all that confident that Jarrett Stidham's going to be able to put up 20-plus points unless Drake May fumbles the football over to them a couple of times and makes it easier for them to do that. So, as I said at the beginning of this crossover, Denver has to live by what they're really built, on, which is offensive line play, defensive line play, a couple special teams plays, and, maybe the Patriots kind of kick themselves in their own tuchus and help you out along the way while you're home. So, I think that's the recipe.
Sarah's over at Locked On Broncos. Nick is over at Locked On Patriots, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Coming up, we're going to get to that NFC championship battle, Rams Seahawks part 3. It's going to be a great one. Stay tuned. Plenty coming your way on the Ultimate NFL Pregame Show. First, the show is brought to you by TurboTax. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax full service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish without the stress or guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employment forms and work to get you every deduction. You can upload your documents, go about your day, and get updates right in the TurboTax app. It's a huge time saver and gives real peace of mind knowing an expert is handling it. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in. If a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year, just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. The show is brought to you by Gametime. NFL season is in full swing, and there's nothing like being at the game. The crowd noise, the energy, and cheering alongside other fans. Watching at home is great, but being in the stadium, it's different. The frustrating part has always been getting tickets, waiting in queues, dealing with logins, and watching prices change right at checkout. That's why the Gametime app gives the advantage back to fans. It's the hack for unlocking amazing NFL tickets and experiences in just a few taps. Now, the app is incredibly intuitive. You have browsing, comparing, and buying tickets, taking just minutes. And one of my favorite features is being able to see the view from my seat before buying. So there are no surprises. And the zone deals, they stand out to me because you pick the section, Gametime picks the seats, and you save even more. Take the guesswork out of buying NFL tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL. That's LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today and get back to being there live. And the show is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is officially in playoff mode every game day during the NFL playoffs. FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action because right now, every NFL playoff game day, FanDuel users get a profit boost pack waiting for them inside the app. Each game day, you'll see a pack loaded with multiple profit boosts you can apply to the bets you like most. Open your profile boost pack first thing on game day and see what boosts you want to apply. The boost lets you lean into your game day instincts, whether you're backing momentum, defense, quarterback play, or coaching. The boosts give you more juice on the bets you already like instead of forcing you to bet something new. Every play feels bigger, and the boosts make your bets feel that way too. You make your picks, then apply your profit boost to go after even bigger payouts while the playoffs get rolling. So visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day. Back here on the Ultimate NFL Pregame Show, Kevin Oestreicher still here with you, diving into championship weekend. We just talked about the Broncos and the Patriots facing off in the AFC Championship game. Now we're going to roll and talk about the NFC Championship game. It is Rams Seahawks Part 3. Sam Darnold, Matthew Stafford. This should be an absolutely electric game. So Corbin Smith of Locked On Seahawks and Travis Rogers of Locked On Rams talk about keys to victory and so much more.
Crossover Thursday, Locked On Seahawks, Locked On Rams, Championship Weekend edition. We got a Super Bowl spot on the line. I'm Corbin Smith of Locked On Seahawks. He's Travis Rogers, Locked On Rams. Travis, let's dive into the keys to victory for these two teams, respectively, what they need to do to get the job done in advance to the Super Bowl. Both games these teams have played have been classics, just different styles. The first one was more of a defensive slugfest. Second matchup, it was all about the points. And, of course, Seattle winning on special teams as well. That was crucial in that matchup. Jason Myers couldn't quite make the 62-yarder in the Week 11 matchup. He needed a prayer and an extra gust from God to get that one to go over the upright. But both these games have been really close and decided by less than 3 points. So going into this game, what are you looking at for the Rams as far as what they need to do? What do they need to accomplish in order to go to Seattle, beat this red-hot Seahawks team, and get to the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I think you hit on something incredibly important. I think both Rams fans and Seahawks fans can convince themselves that they should have won both of those games. And I don't think you have to really work that hard to get there. I think it's a reasonable position for both groups. I think maybe 2.5 things need to happen for the Rams to have a very good chance to win this game. Number one, and Sean McVay talked about it after the Bears win, that is his, I don't even know the right word for it, Corbin, his reluctance maybe to run the football. He is Sean McVay. He likes to pass the ball. He likes to put the ball in the hand of his quarterbacks and his wide receivers. There was a point in the Bears game in the fourth quarter where the Rams had passed it 33 times and run it 11, despite the fact that the running game was averaging about 5.5 yards a carry. It was working. Now, they finally went back to it late in the fourth quarter, and guess what happened? They scored another touchdown. It's if he can go and run the ball against his, better angels, and look, I'm not complaining about Sean McVay at all. I wouldn't trade him for any coach in the league, but he gets stuck in these modes where it's just pass. So if they have a more balanced attack, I like that. I think that's number one. Number two is, and you mentioned his name a second ago, the Rams have had trouble on special teams all season long. The game they lost in Thursday night up in Seattle turned on a special teams play. They were unable to cover a punt. Shaheed takes it back for a touchdown, and that game went from this is just about over to buckle up. The game is basically tied at this point. They've struggled on special teams. We saw them struggle in Carolina where they had a kick block. We've seen them struggle with it all season long. They finally got something done when Harrison Mevis made the game-winning kick in the cold, but 47-yarder, I mean, it's the NFL. He should make that kick, right? Their special teams is still something they struggle with. Ethan Evans had a 33-yard punt in a very crucial situation in Chicago. Kick the ball through the end zone on kickoffs, kick it out of bounds on punts. Do not let Shaheed put you in a situation that you don't, and I'm being lit, like, do not let that man catch a kick and do what he does. I think that's it. And then lastly, get a little lucky. These they're so evenly matched. You look at it in the two games, 1 point separates them. In the two games, 1 yard separates them. You got to get a little lucky in a game like this when I think it's as close as it is. So those are the things I'm looking at. Some special teams issues, run the football, and cross your fingers.
Yeah, I think that last point we could both say. I think you have to have some fortunate bounces when you're looking at games like this. You got to hope that as the home team that you get a few that, and look, Seattle didn't get all of those in that last matchup. They didn't. When the Rams were getting that big lead, there were some plays that just didn't bounce their way, and they found a way to still win it. There were some bad luck plays in the first matchup, but you could say that for the Rams too. So it's who gets the most big breaks in this game. But as far as away from the fortunes aspect, if the Rams run the football or not, well, however much they decide to run it, like that game changed with Rashid Shaheed's return for a touchdown, but it also changed with Seattle's run defense, which has been the best in the NFL pretty much this entire season. But both games these teams have played, the Rams have had success in the first half running the football. Mm-hmm. They have to find a way to win on first and second down against the run consistently and give their defensive line a chance to actually rush the passer. I don't think it's been that they can't get to Matthew Stafford. It's been the Rams have been getting in 3rd and 2 and 3rd and 3 situations often, and then you can't pin your ears back and get after the quarterback. It's been advantageous for the Rams. They need more 3rd and 5s, 3rd and 6s, so that they can let Leonard Williams and Uchenna Nwosu and DeMarcus Lawrence get after Matthew Stafford, which they did in the fourth quarter to make that comeback in that game. So I think early down run defense, that might be the biggest thing for the Seattle Seahawks in this game. And I also need to see this team that doesn't normally have coverage busts. They had some big coverage busts in that Week 16 game. Full week of preparation. You can't have excuses about fitting too much in the playbook for this week or in your game plan. They need to play sound, fundamental coverage, no scheme breakdowns. If they do that, I think they got a really good chance to win. And on offense, it'd be easy for me to say, just hand it off to K9 and let him go. That's got to be a given with the way they're running the football. But I think they need 4 pass plays of 20-plus yards from Sam Darnold in this game to win. And that doesn't necessarily mean they have to be downfield vertical shots. It could be creating after the catch on an intermediate pass or in the screen game, which they've had success against the Rams with. But they got to generate some explosives because the Rams have been giving them up. You have got to generate those. And I think a couple of those plays do need to be the downfield, take your shot variety. and exploit a defense that has given up and gifted quite a few of those since Christmas. So post-Christmas, they've been Santa Claus in some of that regard. Seattle's got to take advantage. Sam Darnold's got to play with confidence and balance being aggressive with being careless with the football, which I think he's done a lot better job the last 5 or 6 games of doing that. But they've got to get some of those shot plays to have a chance to win this one against this Rams defense. All right, let's look at the spread. 2.5 points, and that makes sense when you consider, as you said, it's 1 point separating these two teams in their 2 games they have played. 1 yard separating. I mean, they basically have been clones of each other in those games. So a 2.5 point spread, it almost feels a little bit too big. I would be totally fine with a 1 point spread and understand that. And I think from a prediction standpoint, I mean, I don't know how you could predict that this game is not going to be inside 3 points either way with what we've seen. I'm expecting that it's going to be that very tight-knit battle that basically whoever's got the ball last is going to dictate who wins this one, whether it's the defense making a big play or the offense coming through. But like it's gonna boil down to who's got the ball last, it feels like, because that's what these games have been all about. So I think 2.5 is too big, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it feels like it's too heavy. I agree. I think this is a 1 point game. I really do. There's no reason to think that it wouldn't be. Like we talked about, they've played 2 games. They both could have gone either way. The Rams could be 0-2. The Rams could be 2-0, and neither is a stretch. And it's literally a play here or there. It's not a series of weird things that happen. It's a play that could go either way. I guess if we're gambling in this situation, I would take the Rams because I'll just take the points because I don't think they're going to lose by more than 3. But I also don't love the thing that think that the Rams are going to walk in there and throw their shoulders back and all of a sudden they're going to win by a touchdown or more. I think it comes down, like I said at the very beginning, this felt inevitable. This felt like they were going to play 3 times after the first 2 that we saw. They're the 2 best teams. And maybe the difference is that it's in Seattle and not LA, and that's the Rams' fault for letting that happen, for losing that game up there early in the season, for turning around and dropping a couple that they lost to San Francisco when they shouldn't have. They lost to Philadelphia when they shouldn't have, and that's the differences to being where they are right now, and that could be the difference on Sunday afternoon.
And I think that is going to be a big difference. And it's weird because when we were talking about this, I believe even in week 16, looking at this matchup, there had been a lot of questions about where did the magic go at Lumen Field. This team went 3-6 in the 2024 season at home. They started off with a couple losses at home, but then suddenly that mojo seems to be back. Like this in the press box the other day, like that was easily the loudest I have heard the stadium in my 8.5 years that I've been covering the team in person. And that kick return at the beginning of the game when the smoke was still coming up from the warm-ups, and just it was a different environment. It felt like those 2013, 2014 teams where teams just had no interest coming to Seattle. The decibel level through the roof. I'm expecting it's going to be on another level coming up on Sunday. We'll see how many Rams fans actually travel, because a lot of people were worried about 49ers fans last week, and there was some red, but it wasn't near as bad as it's been in previous matchups. So Seattle fans showed up, and I expect that to happen again with a spot in the line for the Super Bowl. So we'll see how big of a difference that home field advantage makes. That's probably why I would be leaning towards taking that 2.5 with the Seahawks, just because they're playing at home. But it wouldn't be with much confidence, just because, again, I'm looking at this as being that 1.5 point threshold there, where I think this is, you mentioned 5 out of 10, both teams winning 5. That is really how it feels.
Corbin's over at Locked On Seahawks. Travis is over at Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. That's all I have for you today on the Ultimate NFL Pregame Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Enjoy your Sunday, enjoy your football, and enjoy your weekend. And we'll be back here soon talking about the NFL, as this was an awesome season of football. It's going to be a great championship weekend, an amazing Super Bowl as well. I cannot wait for it all. So be sure to hit the like and subscribe button in video form, follow along and subscribe in audio form, and I'll see you right back here soon on the Ultimate NFL Pregame Show.